Hey everybody, it's raining here and I want to give you some ideas of how you can keep up your nature journaling practice while not going crazy on a rainy day. And I have a couple of good ideas. Idea number one, make a steaming cup of coffee or some other beverage that you enjoy. Having something warm will motivate you. Number two, ask yourself, how rainy is it really? If you just push yourself to go out there, you can actually learn what the limitations are to your nature journaling. A lot of people stay inside just automatically. They haven't actually seen what it's like to be out with their nature journals on those days. So a good thing to do is to actually test those limits. And the cool thing is sometimes you'll see animals or activity or experience things that you wouldn't normally if you're stuck indoors. Number 2B, go amphibious with your equipment. A lot of us use pencils or pens that are water soluble, and many people use watercolor, including myself, and those are some of the things that won't work very well on a rainy day. There's other things too that can be a problem. If drops of water get on your paper, like you can see there, that makes the paper softer in those spots. And even tools like this that are not water soluble, this is a graphite mechanical pencil that I usually use for my nature journaling. Because it's so pointy, sometimes those spots where the water has hit will become soft and the pencil can poke into the paper, or it can have an effect on how much of a mark it makes. So another thing that's not good on a day like today is these are pens that I use a lot for writing, but these are water soluble, so won't want to use those. And another thing that a lot of people are using these days for nature journaling are these Tombow pins. These are also water soluble, so you don't want to use those. A few things that can work are normal colored pencils and also softer or fatter graphite pencils. Like I really like these Prismacolor ebony pencils for drawing. So a rainy day provides an opportunity to test new equipment, and I'm gonna go ahead and just sit down here and do a little bit of journaling in between rain showers right now. Another option for nature journaling in the rain is to go amphibious with your paper. Kate Rudder from the Nature Journal Club Facebook page showed how the Write in the Rain journal paper can be used with colored pencils in full-on rain. Look at this awesome branch that she drew during a downpour. I can hear some birds. I hear a hummingbird nearby. I'm gonna do a little sketch of that hummingbird. I left my binos inside, but I probably could have brought them out here. See, a lot of the birds don't care that much about the rain. They don't mind it. A lot of people don't mind it either, but I think we get in this habit of just automatically thinking we can't do things when it rains. I can hear a lot of red-shouldered hawks. So since it's not really raining that much right now, I'm gonna risk taking out my watercolors because I'm so addicted and dependent on the ease of coloring they provide. Oh, I wish I had my binoculars right now. What is that over there? Besides the possibility of your colors bleeding together and drying very slowly, the main danger in wet weather is that your watercolor palette itself will get too wet and the colors can start to ooze out of their individual pan. You can see that in about 5 minutes of nature journaling, I got a little bit of metadata, a snarky comment about how rainy the day is, a little sketch of the hummingbird up in the tree, some other information about birds, and a picture here of the orchard with the dormant fruit trees, the green grass, and the mustard in flower in the neighbor's orchard. And a question, why is there so much mustard in the neighbor's orchard and so little in ours? So just in 5 minutes, I pushed myself to go outside, try something a lot of people would just automatically think, oh, it's rainy, I can't go outside, I can't nature journal because it's rainy. They would look at their phone maybe, not go outside, and I do the same thing. I'm gonna give examples of other things you can do on rainy days, but the benefit of coming outside is you get that direct interaction with nature that I think makes nature journaling different from other types of drawing and art. And one of the other things that I got is I got feedback. Because I'm out here in direct contact with nature, I have the feedback of the natural world that affects my learning. And one thing also is I got to try materials that I normally don't use anymore, such as these ebony pencils. So some other things about rainy days obviously is important to have good clothing so that you'll be able to stay comfortable. If you're not comfortable, you're not going to be able to nature journal. And your kit's important too. So I like these nature journal bags that have a lid that covers the openings on the sides. That way you can always close it. This bag is my favorite. I've definitely nature journaled in the rain with this multiple times. Small enough that I can bring it around to the front of me while I'm nature journaling, fit underneath an umbrella, and it's also small enough that I fit it underneath my waterproof jacket before. That's another way to stay dry during rainy spells, and then be ready to pull out your stuff as soon as it stops raining. So trying to find that balance between being prepared and also having a setup that is easy to pull out and then put away is a really important thing. So those are a couple equipment ideas for rainy days. Number 3, look out your window. If you have a good window at your house, one of the things that you can do on a rainy day is nature journal from your window. It's a great place for watching birds, especially if you're on a second story or if you have a feeder nearby. It's also a good place to do landscapitos, and even if it's raining, you can open the window and maybe a little bit of rain will come in, but not too much. Another benefit of this location is that you're close to the outside and you're observing directly from nature, but you also have the comforts of inside, so you could have your cup of coffee here. Oh, a ruby crowned kinglet. Cool. Number 4, look for nature inside your house. Remember, our definition for nature is arbitrary. Plant. If you have any house plants, they're a perfect subject for nature journaling and study. Or food items. A piece of ginger could be interesting. Some garlic that's sprouting, I have questions about that. That could be fun to draw and to ask questions in nature journal about. Or even your very own hand. Why does it form creases in those spots? Is that from use? Okay, time to go back outside. Number 5, bring nature inside. So one thing you can do if it's raining really hard and you can only go outside for a little bit is look for some cool branches with lichen and moss growing on them, and you can break off a piece of this that you're interested in. And I recommend choosing something small because this is such a complex subject. You could spend forever on it, so choosing something manageable. So like this branch right here, for example, This little piece that I broke off will be a perfect thing. I can bring this inside and it'll provide hours of nature journaling. And I think just going outside quickly enough to grab something like this is a good way to get a little bit of that outside time. And remember, nature journaling is not just about trying to make a pretty picture, it's about trying to learn about something. So remember to incorporate note-taking and observations, questions, and you can also use numbers to quantify things. Images, words, and numbers are the three main languages of nature journaling. Questions I might ask about a branch like this are: how many different things are growing on this branch? How many animals are on this branch? Why are some of these lichens that have very different shapes, why do they have similar colors? What function does that color have? Because I see this pale green color that I call a lichen color, and it's on this one and it's on that one. I wonder what the differences are. I wonder where their reproductive structures are. I wonder if I could guess which side was the top or bottom based on where they're growing. How much sun do they need? Do they grow more in the winter when there's no leaves on this tree? Why do they grow on this tree? Do they only grow on dead branches? Do they grow more on dead branches? How do they get established? Those are some examples of questions that I could ask. So that was all for things that you can do outside or actual nature journaling on a rainy day. Now I'm going to talk about what I consider practices that are parts of nature journaling. So for example, drawing is not nature journaling by itself, but it's one of the tools that we use. So on a rainy day, there are certain things you can do that aren't precisely nature journaling, but are building blocks for nature journaling that you can develop. This is number 6, is you can review old nature journals. Going back through your old nature journals and taking sticky notes, you can sometimes recognize patterns over the years if you've been nature journaling for that long, or even just remember some details from a couple months ago about an organism that you saw. You can also use the sticky notes to mark things that you want to do follow-up research on. You might try to identify some of the plants or animals that you drew in the field and do some research about them online or in books. Another thing that you can do is you can find a page such as this that's heavy on drawings and try to come up with some more questions about those observations. Number 7 on the list of things to do to practice your nature journaling on a rainy day. While being inside, you can do some exercises from books. So for example, you can look at National Geographic photos of animals and practice your drawing from those. I don't consider that nature journaling because you're not in direct contact with nature. You're working with a limited view that someone already made decisions about, and you can't really make the same novel discoveries that you can in nature. However, practicing your drawing in that way makes it so that when you're out in nature, you could be more confident in your drawing. Obviously, there's some great nature journaling resources out there. Probably the best is the Law's Guide to Nature Drawing and Journaling, and Jack has a ton of exercises you can do in here. So for example, this is a great example. There's a whole thing in here on how to create the illusion of iridescence, such as the iridescence you can see in shiny insects, and you can learn how to do that in the controlled setting of your house, and then when you're out in the field nature journaling, you can apply that. He also has a lot of stuff in here about that's more nature journaling and not just artistic techniques, like how to guesstimate numbers in the field and really cool things like that. So this book is a treasure trove for a rainy day. Another fun thing to do would be to combine different resources, things that aren't necessarily nature journaling. So how to integrate things from, for example, urban sketching, how you can integrate those things into your nature journaling practice, or books such as this, which are famous in the drawing literature, such as Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain, what are some practices or exercises you could do in here? So there's a lot of drawing exercises from books that you can do on a rainy day that will keep your nature journaling practice going. And these would be great things to do with a group or with a friend. If it's a rainy day and you're by yourself and you're disciplined, that's great. However, it's always better to do things like this in a group, and you'll learn a lot more and be more motivated. Oh, hey there. I was just practicing nature journaling. Checking my Instagram. So, one thing that's really easy to do on rainy days is to practice nature journaling, or to practice your drawing by drawing photos that you find online using your phone or iPad or computer. So I'm at this point going to give a little warning against those things, and that's why I've saved these for last. Using the internet is an amazing resource for nature journalers. We can look up information about things that we've learned about and observed in the field, and identify things that we didn't know about. We can prepare before going on a trip, such as going to Tanzania. We can look up what animals are there and draw them from photos and video online. However, I just want to give a little warning that I've recognized in myself, and this is where the self-awareness and metacognition come into learning and nature journaling, is I've noticed with myself, it's really easy to get distracted when I am trying to do drawings from the computer. So be cognizant of that as I go through these next couple of recommendations, and if you can, try to do other nature journaling practices before relying on Pinterest or Instagram or Facebook or YouTube for your sources of inspiration or whatever for art. Because I've found that a lot of times we end up looking at tons of pictures or being distracted by unrelated things instead of doing the practice that we said we were going to do originally. Number 8. You can practice nature journaling skills on a rainy day by watching some of John Muir Law's amazing YouTube tutorials. And I'm sure there's some other nature journaling educators out there besides John Muir Law's, but he puts together class-length videos showing different nature journaling techniques and concepts. And I'll put the information about those here, but his videos are great, and you can follow along for like an hour or 2 hours and get a lot of information. So that would be my number 1 recommendation for practicing nature journaling using sources from the internet. Another cool practice, and this is number 9 on my list, is to watch YouTube videos or nature documentaries in slow motion and try to nature journal to them. You can also watch them in regular speed and practice your sketch noting skills, because the narrator will be providing a lot of the informational content that you're normally having to think up when you're in the field. So this is a good way to practice at a high speed, and I think practicing speed is a really useful thing, because later when you're in the field, you might see something such as a peregrine fly by and attack a duck. Alright, number 10, last and least, is practicing nature journaling drawing skills using photos on a site such as Pinterest. Now, Pinterest is used by a lot of artists that I know, and it is a pretty amazing place for searching and organizing images that you find from other people. So the main downside is I feel like Pinterest can be very distracting, and you can end up spending more time flipping through pictures than actually trying to draw from them. However, if you're looking for a particular animal or plant and you are very disciplined, you can use Pinterest. There's also other artists you can look at on there, but try to be disciplined and maybe give yourself a time limit. And if you notice that you're not drawing, but you're just scrolling through photos or collecting images that you never end up drawing from, then just realize that and notice that, and maybe use it as a backup source of inspiration, but don't really tell yourself that you're going to practice nature journaling if all you really do is get distracted flipping through photos, and I speak from personal experience there. Now that you've done some nature journaling on a day that you otherwise wouldn't, it's time to reward yourself. Make yourself a cup of hot chocolate, have a latte, do something that you enjoy and gives you pleasure. It could even be a little guilty pleasure because you've earned it, and by rewarding yourself, you'll help set this in as a habit, because nature journaling is something that you should be able to do on a rainy day.